All right, welcome to the Market of the Moment for the week of August 23rd, 2021. Michael Oldham here with Chris Madrid.
Hey,
What's up, Chris? And back roading it this morning, huh?
yeah.
So anyway, we're going to get started today. Chris got some news on interest rates. We're going to talk a little trends, talk about housing inventory, got current market update on real estate. So let's get rolling. Chris, what are the current mortgage rates doing right now?
So this week, right? The week of what week are we of?
23rd.
All my weeks are rolling together. That's right. So the week of 22nd, 23rd, depending on what day starts your week. Man, rates are slightly up, and by slightly I mean like 0.1, right? So we're I've never sneezed on a call before on a Zoom. We're about 0.1 higher than we were last week. So a little bit of a obviously a little bit on that is we've started to see that the Fed was tapering on their purchasing of mortgage-backed securities, which then causes a slight increase in rates. So again, this is pretty normal, right? We kind of expect, I think, like we said last week, we're expecting interest rates to kind of go up and down throughout the I would say at least for the next 6, 8, 12 months. I don't see anything that's going to cause rates to go up and stay up. We'll kind of see them up and down just depending on things that happen in the economy and the markets. So this week we are higher. You're going to see, like, one of the things I just love talking about is if you go online, you're going to see interest rates drop this week. The news, the media stuff, the thing that you see online, it's always about a week or two out of date, which is so crazy. It's so crazy to me. They essentially, I think they have access to the same data we have. It's just how their news cycles go. It's always a week behind. So if you hear that rates are down, that was last week, you missed it. Rates are up this week.
All right. And so you kind of still see them trending the same way, ticking up, ticking down, most likely.
Yeah, up up an eighth here, down an eighth there, up a quarter here, down a quarter there. I don't see anything significant. We should, for the remainder of the year, I think we should stay in the, probably the high twos, maybe low threes range again, kind of up and down. So I don't see us making any significant increases.
Okay. Last week we talked a little bit about self-employed borrowers. I still got that here on the slide, but today we want to talk a little bit about housing inventory, new construction, and how that's affecting what a lot of people think might be a housing bubble or crash. We watched a video last week or 2 weeks ago, I think, talked a little bit about it, but let's just talk about the current housing inventory compared to 2007, 8, 9.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty, kind of cut and dry from my opinion. It, back in 2007, 8, 9, right, during the Great Recession, the mortgage meltdown, right? That's kind of what it was called. Builders were building around 3 million homes, which, at that time there just wasn't the demand, right, to support it. And obviously one thing to highlight as well is, back then was when buyers were able to essentially dictate their terms, right? Which is not what's happening now, right? That is, you cannot walk into a home and dictate that the seller pay your closing costs and that they fix everything that was, maybe deficient on the inspection report and leave the Maserati in the garage. And that's just not happening, right? You can't do that right now. You're one of 30 people, that are looking at purchasing that home also, right? So it's not the market where you can dictate terms. Obviously we're seeing that in new construction. I think some of the builders have kind of, they've kind of eased up on canceling contracts, right? Because 6 months ago, if you didn't like the way that a color of tile turned out, or they were canceling your contract and then you hit the road, they'd go sell it to somebody else for $50,000 more, right? So not as much of that, I don't think, is happening right now, right, in the month of August, September. But it was 6 months ago, right at the beginning of the year. They were, telling people, hey, kick rocks, we'll sell it to somebody else. So obviously it was putting a lot of people in a bad spot. But that's the biggest difference is Now, 2020, 2021, builders are only building like 1 million homes. So is it a bubble? No. Is it going to crash? No. Are prices maybe going to flatten out over the next couple of years? Maybe.
Yeah.
But as long as demand is outweighing supply and people are willing to pay the prices that, that essentially sellers are asking for, it's not gonna slow down any.
Yeah, Niall, after we talk about the current numbers, I've got some comps I actually ran yesterday in McKinney. I think I showed some comps a couple of weeks ago, and it's just amazing how in a different part of McKinney, these still are playing out almost the same. So we'll take a look at those in a second. So, you got anything else you want to add before we move on?
Nope, that was it.
All right, we're going to move on to the current real estate trends real quick. I don't know if it's really trends too much when it doesn't change much, but this is for the week of 8/23. So in Collin County, we stayed pretty much, I think, exactly the same as last week, still at 5.5% over, which my comps I'm going to show pretty much proves that, backs it up, justifies it. That was same as last week, still 5 days on market, and you still got a 1.1 month supply, which goes back to our inventory question. If this was 08, that would have been a 6, 8, or maybe a year-month supply.
Yeah,
sitting there. So that's the
For
difference in now and then. Denton County remained the same, like Collin. Those two counties playing out pretty much the same as far as the market goes. 4.8%, almost 5% over list, 5 days on market still, and still very low inventory. And if builders are building, they're building in most of these counties right here. So this is a definite indicator of inventory and what's going on. Dallas County changed a little bit. You dropped, 0.1% on your list price. Still though, 7 days on market, still very low supply, 1.4 months. And then in Grayson, it remained exactly the same, 10 days on market, 1.8 month supply, and they're getting 99.4% of lists. So pretty much the same as last week. I still think we're in that school starting. I think it's probably going to get ready to open back up, in my opinion. Are you seeing more buyer apps coming in over the last few weeks, most likely?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, apps are definitely up from what they were a month ago. So yeah, again, I think it's just, comes down to seasonality and all that stuff. And one thing to, obviously mention to keep in mind is from Dallas County perspective, we're seeing, 1.1% over list. Dallas is a big county, right? So that I mean, you're not going to see 1.1% over list in the Highland Parks, in the Lakewood areas. Those are all, I would imagine 5 to 10% over list. But because obviously Dallas is such a big county, there's other areas that may not have that activity. So those are, obviously those are those things that that you need to keep in mind. Is just because the stat shows, well, I'm only going to offer 1% over list because that's what the averages are. But it's one of those deals where you kind of have to dig deep into those specific pockets to really get that number.
Yeah, they have just a Dallas County market at the moment and focus on different parts of Dallas and have complete different data. So talked real quick about the recent comps I ran. These actually yesterday. This is a neighborhood in McKinney, 75072 zip code is where this particular one is at. So you're currently, I think this was 13 days on the market. It came back on contract, so it had actually gone under contract and came back out of option period. So that's the reason for the long days on market. It was probably under contract in 2 to 3 days. But you have a list of 374 on that particular house. So the comps I was running was for a 1769. So basically that would put their property at this 339 price range. But when we go down here to the solds, this is last 90 days. You basically see the max of 202.49 a square foot, the averages of 186.40, and your max sold price was 20%, almost 21% over asking, and you're averaging almost 7% over. So I do an average of those two numbers. So falling somewhere in between there. Um, for my clients, I feel they would fall listing somewhere in between 7 to 13% or 7 to 20% over asking, most likely. So although I would most likely list their house at a 329, I would expect to probably get 351 to 355 on this particular property. I was doing my comps, but the comps I showed you before was in far north McKinney, and this is in the southern part. I guess not really southern, but Stonebridge Ranch area. So anyway,
that is the southern part of McKinney, which is what
yeah, I guess it is now. So
yeah, which is
yeah,
kind of
because the
funny.
other one was actually Prosper ISD even. But so Prosper ISD, that one was bringing 20, almost, these numbers are almost exactly the same. And this is a McKinney ISD. So anyway, I just wanted to show you some actual recent comps that were ran just to kind of back up those things we're telling you on those previous slides. I want to show you real quick, facts behind rising rents. This is just about a 40-second little video. It just amazes me, rents going up, 11, 12% a year. People are paying other people's mortgages where they could be getting 11 to 12% equity if they bought in the right area. So. That's quite a graph. So the message there, of course, is put the money in your own savings account, which is basically your home, instead of somebody else's bank account. Which, if you're leasing, that's what you're doing every single month. So rents are constantly going up. As we talked earlier, Chris mentions it every week. What you're hearing on TV as far as interest rates and the housing market goes, that is always a week behind. Chris and I are even, several days behind the information coming out on Sunday and Monday when we do this. So, but I think we're pretty accurate. But get in touch with one of us if you are a renter or want to get into new construction. The first steps, obviously, to get pre-qualified. Chris makes that pretty painless, easy to work with, and then we go out and find the perfect home for you.
Absolutely.
You got anything to add before we get off here today?
No, just talking about new construction. Depending on price point that you're building at. I mean, it used to be that you could sign a contract and you're closing in 6 months, right? And that's just not the case right now, and I don't see that being the case for the foreseeable next 2 or 3 years. So on the upper end, right, if you're building at 500,000 or above, I mean, we're being told 14 to 18 months.
Wow.
For construction, right? And then if it's smaller square footage, they may be able to get those in 10 to 12 months, right? 10 to 13 months, something like that. So it comes down to planning. Like if you're saying, hey, I need to be in a home by spring, you miss the boat if you're trying to build something, right? You won't be able to start that now and then be moved in by spring. So again, it's just having those conversations. A lot of customers, think that, I'm fine. Everything looks okay right now. I'll just wait until, I'm 90 days out. And that's just, you can't do that, especially if you're going new build, because it's just taking so much longer to build right now. So
yeah, you definitely got to have a plan. If you're in something,
Absolutely.
And I've been pretty good at getting people into some temporary housing, getting your equity out of your current one, getting something under construction, and possibly moving in with equity after that
Yeah.
12 to 14 month wait.
Oh yeah.
Which I don't know. I think that's pretty amazing. So, if any of this interests you, reach out to Chris to get pre-qualified. Reach out to Amy and I. If you're interested in looking, we'll get you on the right path and with a plan. Chris, appreciate you getting on here.
Yeah, man.
Let,
It's always a good time.
let you get back to making those mortgage dreams come true.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
See y'all.